Hey folks, welcome to Bear Mountain. Today we're working on a little project that should have been done when the hoop house was built a couple years ago, but at the time we just didn't have any spare plastic to put on an extra side shield on this side of the house. So we've kind of put it off, and we finally got tearing down some low tunnels in this last year. We finally got enough plastic where it's long enough. This tunnel's about 85 foot, I think, total by the time I get down to the end of it. And we had enough extra plastic that I could cut and a shield that's minimum 24, but what I really try to go for is 30 inch, and I was able to get a 30-inch wide piece of plastic here. This is just old greenhouse grade plastic, and what we're going to do is we're going to come through and we're going to take all the ropes off, which is kind of scary, but it's not windy too bad today. Till I just said that, the wind came up.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to loosen all the ropes and take the wiggle wire up to about 30 inch off the ends so that we can slip this plastic underneath. So this is actually going to be on top of the plastic. So the actual shield itself will be underneath. So what we'll have to do is, like I said, take the wiggle wire off up to about 30 inch, loosen all the ropes, and then when we put the plastic on, we can stretch it tight and re-anchor the ends with the wiggle wires and then go back and retie the ropes. So it's going to be kind of a fun process. We have a couple hours of pretty decent weather, so what better time to do it? So let's get it done. Okay, when we originally put the ropes on, it was all done with basically a slip knot through some carabiners. So I'm not going to try to pull them off over the top. This one was particularly, I was experimenting with a truck hitch, trucker's hitch. Seemed to work pretty good, but it's not as quick a release the way I did it. Should have finished it off with another half hitch, but I didn't. But I think I like the trucker's hitch knot better than just a couple of double slip knots. It seems to work better in tensioning it down. So when we retie this down, I'm going to come back through and retie all these guys with trucker's hitch. And it also gives us a chance to, when we go back through this, to get it re-tensioned down for winter time, so that when we do start getting some pretty strong storms through, that the plastic is pretty secure.
Think it's going to be safe with no tie down?
Yeah, well, we got the ground anchors. I'm not going to take those guys off. I'm just going to kind of loosen these guys a bit, so I'll still be able to slip the plastic through these ground anchor ropes. So the ends, most of the end is still going to be attached, and then we've got these ground anchors about every 6th or 7th rib. And so I mean, there's no real wind today, so even if it did come up with a little breeze, we should be just fine. I think it's pretty secure. It's not going to really change anything. Okay, we've gone through and loosened all the ropes. One of the things we noticed that unfortunately is probably going to shorten the life of the plastic on this tunnel is we've got some cats around here that really like to climb, and there's probably going to be some patchwork that I'm going to have to do. But right now it still looks structurally like it's going to be okay. Oh, this cat's been a busy cat.
It's not peas and carrots.
No, it's it's a feral one that's causing problems. It likes to get up to someplace high. And since we don't have a lot of trees down here, it likes to look. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm just taking out the wiggle wire out of its track till I get up to about 30 feet, I wish, 30 inches. And then I'm just gonna pull it out of its track. And now I'm gonna be able to peel this up to a level that I can slip this guy in underneath. So that's kind of where I'm gonna start it. And then I could pull the ropes off, it might make it easier. They are undone. And just as I go, and then flip the ropes back over again. It's always fun. I'm not gonna worry too much about this being clean because the rain's gonna kind of take care of that. So what I need to do here is kind of get it through here and up. I want to make certain what I want to do is I want to have enough to go over to the second track there, plus still have enough, a little bit extra. I want to go a little bit past. So like this is 30 inch, so I want to have about an inch where when the curtain's pushed all the way down that it's sealing against the plastic down below. So
I don't think that you've said why you want this on.
Don't do what now?
Why are we putting this on? You haven't said why we are.
The main thing is what I'm trying to do is it really puts a better seal on the plastic to the landscape fabric. It kind of gives me like an extra curtain, so it makes it more difficult for wind or ice or whatever to get underneath it. And the other aspect of it is too, in the spring, early spring, when it's still pretty cold, you have to vent the tunnels. It's really kind of a nice thing to have that extra, just like a little bit of space to keep the cold air that's right at ground level from creeping in. So it allows some cool air to get inside, but keeps it a little bit warmer at the base of the plants. So what we're gonna do now is just put the wiggle wire back in. I don't need cattails in there, thank you much. I'm just here to help. I'm here to help. Let's see here. I think I pulled it out. I'm gonna make sure that I get that right. Yeah. That's about where I want it right there. What I'm going to do is now pull that, so I'm making sure I'm kind of keeping it in the same place that it was the first time. So I got the right strength on it. And that and I'm putting the wiggle wire back in. This is just kind of the wraparound that comes around the front, and this is going to have a double wiggle wire in this one because I've got not only the plastic from the main part of the house that I'm double anchoring down, I'm also going to then put the door plastic back on too. thing about wiggle wire is it's the last guy is kind of sometimes tight to get to. And that's fairly tight. I could have maybe made it a little more. Maybe I'll just try one more time. There we go. That's the part. Now I'm tight. Yes, thank you. Okay, so the only part left to do is just kind of re-anchor the door back on, and that takes care of the wiggle wire for the end. So then we also got to do is now take the plastic and just kind of snake it through the ropes without cat help. You guys are just too much help. And then once we get that all the way down, then the last thing we'll do is we'll take this extra piece of plastic and kind of really reef on it to kind of make it as tight as we can make it before we retighten the ropes itself. Now, so like I said, the biggest advantage that we found with these kinds of tunnels, so we originally got this tunnel from Farmer's Friend in Tennessee, Farmer's Friend LLC, I think it's the official name of it. And it's really a nice tunnel. But it was one of their older models before they made the Gothic, and then they made ones with anchored ends, so you could actually have like an official end and put doors on it and all that kind of stuff. So this was just really just a basic house, and we kind of modified it with a different set of end, and we kind of changed the rope layout on it. Well, just minor changes, but the basics of it's the same. This one's 16 foot wide by 80, I think the interior is 80 feet. And so the side shields is our own modification to it. It's not something they offered. We just decided to start doing it because, like I said, you know, it helps with keeping cold air off the plants in early spring and gives a better seal at the base to keep wind and things like that out. So next thing, let's just get this thing snaked through. Okay, we've got the door just about put back on here. We've got the end re-secured. It was a bit of a tussle. It took both of us to kind of pull it tight. And there we go. So the next step would be, we're just going to kind of line the plastic out a little bit. And then we'll go back to the other side and tie the ropes down. So I got one last little end piece to put on. There we go. Okay, the main thing before we tie the ropes down is we want to make certain that the plastic isn't bound up and that they truly are overlaying each other. I mean, when you look at the side shield, yeah, it's all, you know, scritchy down,
But when I tie these ropes on against the ribs, then we're going to be able to come back and we'll be able to pull the side shield up itself. But it's actually, the plastic it's stretched pretty tight, and so it should hold up pretty well. Then the matter of making sure that there's no binding or kind of, you know, too much pressed over and folded over underneath the rope. So the main sheet itself too is important. So let's go to the back side and we'll start tying them off. I think what we're gonna do is kind of try to tie from the middle out, with the idea that way when we tie the first ones, we can pull the side shield up and kind of get an idea that it's laying good and flat against the ribs as we just go our way out. Okay, let's go do that. Right peas, right. Got to get it done. Well, we got it on. So there's a couple of holes that we'll just patch with there's a specialty UV treated tape that you can use on greenhouse plastics. But you can see we got about 30-inch, and nice thing about this is you can decide how far up you want it to go. So it doesn't have to go all the way up, all the way to 30. You could set it down low, or even when you get to some point, you know, that you don't want it up at all, you can push it all the way down. The nice thing about it is it does put a pretty good seal against the landscape fabric we have on the outside. So it kind of really slows down and stops wind from creeping in underneath the plastic to a better degree than just having the plastic, you know, from the house coming down and kind of meeting up with your landscape fabric. Now, one of the questions folks may want to ask is, why do you put landscape fabric around the outside? Most people do nowadays, and it's basically for grass. You know, control the weeds and the grass from creeping into your house. We probably, you know, in the future, when we rebuild the skin on this guy in a few years, I may put another foot or two of landscape fabric in the outside, because even with a 1.5 feet on the outside, I'm still getting some kind of perennial grasses that still do try to creep in. But it does work pretty good, and keeps it a cleaner looking. I'll come back through here and sweep any kind of stuff off, you know, and kind of make it look pretty. But it just keeps things from growing into the side of the house, which is a problem we had on our original houses that we made ourselves, is we didn't put that landscape fabric down around the outside, and that was a big mistake. But when we reskin those guys, we're going to be doing that. That'll be one of the improvements we make with it. I guess you live and learn, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
So anyway, this is just something you can do with some scrap plastic you might have from a previous, you know, project, a low tunnel, or maybe you reskinned a hoop house yourself, and you say, you know, this just little itty bitty thing here can really kind of make a difference in terms of the temperature at ground level for your plants inside the tunnel. And you give them that little extra boost, and it's a great way to reuse something that, you know, you might otherwise end up just throwing out. So thanks for joining us today, and as always, stay safe out there, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.